Welcome back to the engine. Today we're going to be going over video sequencing tools in Unreal Engine. And before we get started on that, I'm just going to really quickly demonstrate how you might begin to set up a storyboard through a series of screenshots. I'm actually just using this scene that I developed in the last demonstration. I'm going to look for some interesting potential shots, and I'm just going to set cameras up in those locations. So there are a few details that got lit into this scene that I really appreciate. So mostly I really love this reflection that is set up. Particularly I really love how the reflection is interacting with these columns here in the foreground. And so one of the shots that I'm really thinking about is a close-up, a slow pan up and down, perhaps, this column. So to get that shot started, I'm realizing I'm going to have to add some more of these, so I'm just going to do that really quickly. I'm noticing these shadows on the column here are not great, so I may end up going in and adjusting the shadow bias a little. Once I have my setup almost ready to go, I'm just going to go ahead and create a camera here. And I'm going to name this, I'm going to edit, rename, we'll call this Cam Rise. I don't know which shot number it's going to be yet, so I won't name it just yet. But I know it'll be somewhere around here. The camera that I have set up here, my gray box cam, which we can just take a look at again, I think this will be another really good shot, since we already established this from the still life exercise. So I'm not going to mess with that. I think it's ready to go. But I was noticing too, as I was setting this up, that I ended up with this really nice side view of my scene. I got that by just removing the walls. So I'm actually going to go and just really quickly, I'm gonna massage these columns to replace these concrete ones really quick. Oh, actually, those kind of intersections are pretty nice. So I'm not going to replace them all. I'm just going to copy these stone columns around. Now that these columns are to my liking, I'm thinking this shot looks really nice. So I'm going to establish a camera here. And I'm going to call this one Cam Translate. Because I'm already imagining that this camera is going to be going from this side to this side. I'm not totally sure exactly what I'm going to be capturing in that, but something will be happening. Maybe some kind of walking animation for a character. At this point, I think it's really key to just take many screenshots of potential camera angles, because you can start to include those into your storyboard. And I was just using the scene that I had built out previously, but you of course could gray box out additional shots, and I think that's actually a really smart move. Especially once you have a bunch of assets collected, I don't think there's anything wrong with starting to just even gray box with assets or just rough in what shots might start to be. So take some time and do that, and it'll make your part A much easier. And so this storyboarding was super loose. Really, we have this as potentially one frame. It's going to be important though to start thinking through, how is this frame, how is this going to be animated? What is going to change here? And one thing I could do, for example, is just have this robot move its arm, for example, and maybe I'll have some fruit falling. So as part of the storyboard, what I might do is I might just move some of the fruit and stuff around. And just screenshot this and then undo it, right? Like that's super hacky way to do that version of it. But it's okay, because what you can do is you can just have two versions of that same screenshot, but then you just sketch over it, one of them really quickly. I have these 4 cameras, cam 1, this camera that I'm going to animate rising. So I actually might screenshot 2 versions from this camera, right? I might screenshot a version here and a version here, and then illustrate that this camera is panning. In the same way, with this camera, I might just go ahead and jump into it, and I might screenshot this, move it over, screenshot this, and illustrate those panning from one to the other. So once I have that established, we're ready to get rolling. So I have my cameras really loosely picked out, and that's just from spending a little bit of time in the scene, just making sure the assets are in a good spot beyond just this front single camera that we initially set up. This next portion is going to just be a really quick showcase of me setting up several additional shots, just for some additional inspiration about how you might go around getting your storyboards ready to go. And I'm actually even just using some of the base demo scenes that are included in a few of the packs. For example, I'm using the Rural Australia pack, which is one of the free kits on the marketplace, and you'll see me set up that shot here. The video that came out of all of these additional scenes that I set up is actually the one that I would consider to be the demo video for this week. The one that I build as I'm going through the tutorial is a little bit different. I didn't spend as much time considering the various camera angles as I would have liked. So I actually went back and made another video. And so this is a little bit of the setting up of those scenes as well. You'll notice that I actually was even setting this up as I was doing the sequencing, which is of course not a requirement, but I was hijacking the storyboarding process and just storyboarding live as I was generating the clips. But as part of your assignment, you are asked to preemptively storyboard a bit. But again, it can be very loose, and it's absolutely okay for your storyboard to completely be different from your final output. The idea is just to get you to consider a number of different camera angles in advance.